The University of Nevada, Las Vegas hosted a series of graduation ceremonies earlier this month that were segregated by race and identity. These affinity events, as they were called, featured separate celebrations for Asian, Pacific Americans, Latinx, or is it Latinx? I can never figure out how this word is supposed to be said. Native Americans, African Americans, LGBTQ plus XYZ, plus, plus, minus, minus. The events were organized by UNLV's Office of Student Diversity, happened earlier this month. The office's mission statement claims that it strives to serve a diverse student population and affirm student identities. The school's Reno campus offered similar events, including a lavender ceremony for LGBTQ plus identifying students. UNLV's Multicultural Center, responsible for these ceremonies, has stated that the school plans to continue these segregated ceremonies in the coming years. With me to discuss this insanity is Turning Point USA contributor Anthony Watson. Anthony, it's always good to have you here, but it looks like a giant leap back into 1955. I mean, you know, George Wallace would be proud of segregated. I mean, we had President Eisenhower send the National Guard to Little Rock in 1957 to desegregate schools. And this is what we're back to? Come on.
Well, I think that where we're finding ourselves now is a critical point in the United States where we're becoming a country that was just something that people couldn't even bring themselves to imagine just a few years ago. But what UNLV is doing is literally just a short list of a bunch of colleges from NYU, other colleges in New York, colleges in California, and colleges all over the United States that have now started going black graduations separated from white graduations because black students don't feel comfortable getting their diplomas or receiving their diplomas, you know, in front of other people that are different from them. You know, there are always going to be groups inside of a bigger group. You know, when you were in high school, you had your goths, you had your jocks, you had your cheerleaders, you had your nerds, you had everybody else that made everything different. But the whole purpose of a graduation was to show the diversity as a unified body going out there to go make the world a better place. Now, people aren't just segregating by choice or by force. They're segregating by desire, because by segregating themselves, they now put themselves as the victims that now get to bully and pressure everybody else, and they're giving them what they want to, quote unquote, make their lives easier. But what it's doing is it's putting a bigger divide in a lot of areas where we need to be unified together.
Do I look that frightening to you? I mean, being at a graduation with a guy like me, is it that frightening? I mean, you and I can't graduate together. This is so silly, isn't it?
I'm jealous just because you have better hair than I do, you know, so.
Well, I got better hair than most people. Let's be honest about that. But seriously, America's supposed to be the big melting pot, you know, e pluribus unum, from many comes one, and here we are doing this. This is totally wrong. This is not who we are, and it should not be allowed. It's a violation of the civil rights law and the spirit of the law and everything else. It's just wrong.
Well, it's wrong on every front for this simple reason. You can't control how you look, how you were born, what family you would come from, you know, like where you were born into. You know, everyone comes from different walks of life. That's what makes life diverse and what makes it, you know, something to be celebrated. All of these people that sit around and want to compare with the things that they don't have to other people are doing more of a disservice to themselves, because you're not owed anything by anybody. Anything. Life is what you decide to make of it. Some people have had it harder, but they have found ways to make themselves successful, and they give people the tools that they use to now get ahead in life. Now, in college, you're supposed to be getting a diploma to show that you have completed the amount of credits and completed the amount of classes to now put you in society, to make society richer. But instead, now you're getting all of these meaningless degrees, having more people use graduation as protest stunt places where you're watching students literally walk on stage and rip their diplomas in the faces of the deans that's handing it to them. You know, making now universities protesting camps and everything else, to where now people aren't even going there to go get an education. It's radicalized boot camps for protesting organizations that now want to turn all of these people in there into radicals. But what I tell all the college campuses and the students that I go to, I said, you can disagree with everybody till the day you die. But I said, when you leave, I said, you are no longer answering to the dean of students and everybody else. I said, you now have a boss, you have bills, you have all these things that you need to pay that you can no longer use all of these excuses that you have allowed other people to get you comfortable using.
But they don't want that either, Anthony. They don't want bosses. They want to be able to have, you know, what do they call this? Conscientious capitalism. They want to run the program. There is no boss, and the boss can only make X amount more than I make putting on the It's all nonsense. Classes should be taught in victimology, Anthony. That's what I'm hearing here. Okay, last question. How do we turn it around? How do we make this different so this sort of stupidity stops? Is it possible?
Of course it's possible. And the way that myself and Turning Point have been doing it is through the students and all the other organizations that have partnered with young students that love their country, love meritocracy, love the principle of work hard and receive the rewards of all the effort that you've put in. It's sooner or later, it's not arguing, it's not debate, it's not fighting and screaming back and forth that proves whether or not you're right. It's time. And over time, from the things that we've seen from 2020 and this administration to everything that people saw when they were thinking they were doing the right thing, they've realized that now they've been lied and duped. So now it's up to us to show them the way, because if we make the right choices, it should show. And when we do that, that's how you start making a change.
Agreed. Anthony, I got to run. Thank you for being here. Have a terrific weekend. It's smart stuff you're saying. I wish you could share that kind of intelligence with the folks at UNLV, but not yet. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Steve.